Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, are you using any cool technology in your world? Let us know down in the comments. So let's dive into some pens. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, are you using any cool technology in your world? Let us know down in the comments. So let's dive into some pens. Alright, so these are the pens I've been using this week. From left to right, we're going to start with this Kaweco All Sport. That's one that I actually took with me to my class in Bismarck, which we'll talk about a little bit later. A nice little pocket pen that fit in my shorts easily. I have my Aurora 88, which actually also went to Bismarck, but didn't go in my shorts. Sailor 1911 Standard. Majohn V60 went to Bismarck. Don't care, that one can rattle around. I have a Penol Ambassador Special. Did not go to Bismarck. I have my Italix Parsons Essential, which did go to Bismarck. My Inoxcrom Caravel 1920, which did not go to Bismarck. And my Parker Sonnet, which did go to Bismarck as kind of a backup everyday writing pen. As always, we'll be doing my writing sample in this cognitive surplus theory notebook. And we'll see, I made some adjustments to settings. I overall was pleased with the quality of this camera, even though, it doesn't quite do the close-ups, but for pens in use, I think this is good. My first pen is this Kaweco All Sport. So I bought it, I don't know if they still make them, but they had this stone-washed finish, which was supposed to look kind of worn out. I thought it was cool. I was going to get the clip and everything to go with it, but I liked it just fine without the clip. I actually like this one, not because it's metal, because I usually don't like metal pens, but I do like this one a little better than I like my Kaweco Sport, the plastic one, just because the nib is better, but I'm also told that they changed nib manufacturers some point in there, so who knows. But anyway, this is the Kaweco All Sport. Mine has a medium nib on it. And I'm using Delta Black ink. Now here's something fun. I am down officially to 10 milliliters of Delta Black left in the bottle. I know because I put it into one of those Peniter ink wells. And it, marks every milliliter. So, not too much longer, I'll be out of this black ink. What will I use next? Well, not sure. I evaluated. I have a bottle of Callifolio Noir, which I really, really don't like. I have Rohrer and Klingner. Is it called Schwartz? Anyway, the Rohrer and Klingner. I have their black ink, and I don't know. I don't like either one of them. They're just not a good color of blue. If you're wondering what I'm trying to draw, I'm trying to draw baseball equipment. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. But anyway, I didn't like either of them. And, I could tell myself, no, you will use them because you spent money on them. But at what point do you just cut your losses and say, meh? And they're sitting in there ready to do that. I also have a bottle of Red Belly black ink. I forget who makes that. Always loved the color. My trouble was always that... Oh, come on, autofocus. There we go. My trouble was always that the ink would just turn into a gummy mess in the pen. And it didn't write well after about a day. So this is almost empty. But this is my Aurora 88. I have a broad nib in this one. It has the Giove finish. And the ink I'm using today is Red Roses. And very nice ink. I have a lot of it, so, I'll be using it for a while. As you're going to see in this video, I'm branching out a little bit, like I'm trying to have options for different colors. Like you're going to see a green you haven't seen in a long time. Yes, I want to focus on certain bottles and use them up, but I also don't want to get bored. So, trying to find my happy place. So, Red Roses. Let's do a finger. Let's make it a lady's finger. We'll give her a painted nail where she has pricked her finger on the thorn of a rose stem. I feel like the thorns on rose stems are smaller than that. You'd think I would know. I actually had a rose bush growing in front of my house. It was just kind of trying to grow into my foundation, so we had to take it out. But I did have one. But I don't remember. Alright, here is one of my favorites in my collection. Oops, get it on screen. You'd like that better, wouldn't you? So this is one of my favorites in my collection. This is a Sailor. Has a zoom nib in it, which is why I like it so well. I've always heard about how wonderful Sailor nibs are, and they're 21 karat. This one's 14 karat, for whatever that's worth, but I never... Oops, 1911. I never cared one way or the other about their nibs. They were the pens were nothing special to me. Now I know some of you just rave about them. Not me. Not that they're bad, they're just not good either. So Sailor pen, so I had to put a Sailor ink in it. So I put in Sailor, Jentle, Apricot. So when I talk about alternatives, I'm going to show you an alternative to this that I'm using right now. But anyway, zoom nibs are kind of fun because you can go at different angles and get different thicknesses. So we'll do the diagonals just straight. But, if I go very upright, I get very thin lines. If I go more down, I get broader lines. As I go across, same kind of deal. So, they're kind of fun. I'm supposed to help you with Chinese and Japanese writing. I haven't really been very good at that. There. Is that R1? That's what you got. Sorry, that's the only one that's coming to me right now. Then we have this interesting pen. So this interesting pen is my Majohn V60. I don't know how much ink is left in it. I think it has a fine nib. Yes, it does. The ink in it is Atramentis Violets. For now, this is the only color in this family that I have out. My shelf kind of limits how many I can have out at once. And we know Parker Quink Washable Blue is always out. But it's this pen has grown on me. I will just say I still don't like this shape. You know, I have the original. I have the, not Olivetti, Olmas 360 that's also this shape. Don't really care for it. You know, if I'm allowed to say that. Alright, let's go back in time. So one of the books that I need to do a book review of, I have a book about the Penol Pen Company. They were a Danish brand, and yes, this guy with probably a bit more money than I do went to Denmark to study everything he could about this company, find any archives, vintage advertisements. It's actually quite a story. I'd like to see a similar story written about Toes Penkala. There is actually a book written about that, but it's not in a language I speak, so it doesn't do me much good. So this is a Penol Ambassador Special. And, you know, how wide of a market is a book like this going to have? Let's just be honest. I think it's 2 L's. Callifolio. Olivastre. Olivastre, something like that. It's French. Anyway, when I said I wanted to branch out a little with my colors, I have been trying to use up this Ackermann Grünmarkt Smaragd, and it's taking forever. So I got this ink bottle out just so I can get a little variety in my greens. Which is funny because now there's a double meaning there because it's you know, the green is a Grünmarkt Smaragd is a green grocer. So let's do a green olive. Do you like olives? I don't know. I like the black olives. I will eat green olives, especially if they're in something, but I don't have a particular love for them. But you can find me at a party maybe grabbing black olives and eating them. Alright, this pen, I've gotten a lot of help about the history of this company. They no longer exist, but this is a Italix Parsons Essential. I have a broad nib in this. But pretty much it was a one-man show. So this one I did not buy. It was sent to me. Not by the company, obviously, because we don't do that on this channel. But by a viewer. And anyway, I was thinking earlier this summer. I hadn't used it in a while, and I have actually refilled it a couple of times with this ink. So this one will be a long time till I use it up, but it is Ferris Wheel Press. Buttered Popcorn. This is what I'm using as my yellow ink for now. It's in this pen, it actually works very well as a yellow. The trouble with a lot of yellow inks is they are so pale that you can't read them. Like, I absolutely love Private Reserve Buttercup. But what do you do with that ink? You can't see it. So let's do... Alright, so did a stupid thing and turned off the camera. So I kind of stopped suddenly in the middle of this Ferris wheel press thing here, so I don't remember what I was saying then. So I'm going to redo these last two. You might notice a slight change of camera. Got a reason for that. But anyway, we don't need to get into that right now. So this is the Inoxcrom Caravel, 1920. Yeah, see, I can zoom in more with this camera. The nib on it. This is very nice. Gold thing. Is it gold? No, I think it's steel. Anyway, so we'll just redo the two entries there. So Inoxcrom. So this is a Spanish pen. I don't think they make pens anymore, or if they do, it's just ballpoints. I believe they make some luxury stationery goods, like a pencil sharpener and a few things like that, but I might be wrong about that. Herbin Lidete. So we put a French ink in this Spanish pen. This is another ink that's starting to get low. I'll have to one of these days think about what's my next brown going to be. But that's a short list because I don't have very many brown inks. Ooh, let's get this on screen. Can't look at my cell phone, so I have to look up. Anyway, I don't have very many brown inks. It's never been a color that appeals to me. I like this one, but I wouldn't be sad to give it up either. So Caravel is a type of boat. So let's make a nice little sailboat. And I thought my rudder was just a fail, so we won't bother with the rudder. This will be a directionless ship. And my last pen, which is officially my daily writer right now, is this very attractive Parker Sonnet. You know, I'm loving this close-up because this is what I bought the camera to do. If I remember where the autofocus point is, it seems to be holding it pretty well. I may have to just go with this camera, because now I'm remembering why I like using it so well. The hunting, you know, I'll have to check out what that's like. This is a Parker Sonnet with a fine point on it. The ink in it is Delta Black. I am down to 10 milliliters of this ink left, so I'm kind of excited to, well, I don't have much more black ink left to go. I've got one that's kind of a special ink that I use for just occasional fun. I have, well, a liter, less than a liter now, but a liter of Pelican 4001 Brilliant Black. And I have a bottle of Callifolio Noir. And I have a bottle of, oh shoot, what's it called? Rohr & Klingner Leipziger Schwarz. I am trying to remember what the cap looked like on this bottle. I think I made it too elaborate in my first picture. Anyway, I don't care for either of those inks. I really don't care for them. I don't like them. I don't like their color of black. So, I got decisions to make. Do I do the frugal thing and say, no, you spent the money, you use that? Or do I say they have sat around for enough years that, hell with them? Don't know. Oops. Alright, so those are the pens and inks that I have been using this week. And you got a double sample of some of them. So those are the fountain pens and inks I've been using this week. I mentioned the ones I took to Bismarck with me last week. So yeah, I went to Bismarck. It was a class I was taking. Again, it was last week. It was all about, they called it Workplace 4.0 no, Industry 4.0. And it was assistive technology and just the different machines that are used, and what are the trends for using machines and technology in the workplace. So it was a grant-sponsored program, so I actually got a small stipend for doing it, which in the summer is welcome because I haven't gotten a paycheck since the beginning of June and won't get one till the end of September. So, yeah, just living on my savings right now, hoping for the best. But anyway, the BSC, Bismarck State College, is not North Dakota's flagship university. It's not a 4-year university. It's mostly grants is a 2-year program, and then it has a few 4-year programs. I recommend them heavily to my students, actually, because it's got a lot of options, and it's a lower cost way to get your generals and your some of your credits out of the way. They even have like pre-education program, so you can get some of your education classes out of the way there too, and then go on to a more expensive 4-year college to finish your education degree if you want to be a teacher. But they have drone programs, there's energy programs, there's all kinds of manufacturing, electronics, electrician, just all kinds of things. It's a polytechnic university, so it has a lot of advanced stuff too, which makes it interesting to me. But anyway, so I took this class there. There was like 25 of us there from, mostly the east end of the state and a little bit from the middle of the state, and then there was me from out west. Yeah, I fit in. But anyway, we worked with quite a wide variety of things. One of the highlights of the class was we took a tour of the 2 Bobcat facilities that are in Bismarck. One of the facilities is a factory. I don't remember off the top of my head which machine it makes, but it makes one of Bobcat's machines. And then the other one was more their research and development facility. So we got to see, their indoor lab where they can run experimental machines and dig in the dirt all winter when it's frozen. Or their, facilities where they're designing experimental machines. Or where they test machines, all the different facilities for that. Wasn't allowed to take any pictures in there, of course. Then we toured their office facility, which is always interesting. It's not the cubicle farm like you would think. It's a different world than the stereotype. We'll just say that. We got to work with robots at BSC, so we played with, and I'll put up, there's a couple of these I just took pictures, a couple I took video. I didn't think till later in the week that, I should get video of it actually doing something. But we worked with what was it called? Process control boards, I think. Anyway, we were trying to integrate like lights and motors, and it was a coding to make different things happen at different times. And then we had these robotic arms that we were controlling, and we were trying to get them to, do a triangle with the arm, now do a square, now do a circle, getting them to do that. And we played with, they called it a mini Amazon, so it was supposed to sort cubes that were made out of like plastic and metal and wood, and some of them would get rejected, they get sorted into different piles by the machine, so it had an induction coil in it, and conveyor belts, and all kinds of things to test for what it was and make sure it met qualifications, and reject it if it didn't, and sort it into the correct bin. Then we started doing problem solving with it, where if it's not acting right, what should we do now? There was a logic circuit board we got to play with. One day we worked with drones. And this is in 3 days, so they're just barely scratching the surface with us. I think any of these topics could have been a lot deeper, and I'm sure the students there do a lot more because we're trying to figure these things out very quickly, and without a whole lot of preparation. But the drones, that was interesting. I have a former student who actually studied drones in college, and I thought, well, for what? What do you do with a drone? Well, it turns out a lot. Especially, I don't want to give away too much personal information about him, but the profession he's in, the drone is actually useful for measuring and doing visual inspections of large remote territories that might be hard to measure in any other way, and might be a big waste of time to go out unless there is a reason to go out. And the drone takes care of all that for him. North Dakota has some interesting rules about drones if you want to make any money off of them. You need a certain license, and it needs to be within visual range of either you or a second person. So a lot of the drone operators go out in two-man teams, so one's operating the drone, the other one's keep visually watching it. They're trying to get that law changed in the state, but have not yet. So I didn't know that. And different drones have more than just cameras on them. They can measure distances and infrared sensors. There's a lot of possibilities to them. We got to see a robotic dog. The robotic dog is very impressive. And then I asked the guy what they actually do with it at the college. He says, recruiting. I know there is research being done with these robotic dogs, and you can buy one on Amazon if you really want to. They're in the infancy, let's just say.
That is fun.
But it was neat to see it and the technology behind it, because that's how you build these useful tools, is sometimes by creating toys like this. We got to kind of a career fair where we got to see the different programs at BSC. They all set up stations for us. That was there. And then we went to the last day we did a lot on assistive technologies, where you're looking at how can machines augment people, how can they help people who are disabled in some way do things that they couldn't have done at one time. So we had one of the professors there, as I want to say it was cerebral palsy, but anyway, he showed us the technology he used to get his master's degree. Would have been very difficult for him to do if he was, for example, my age, because the technology just wouldn't have been available to him back then. So that was eye-opening. There's a lot that technology can do to make it possible for people to do jobs that they couldn't have done at one time. And, of course, creating new jobs that just never existed. And I think that was part of the message of the Bobcat tour, is just to see how humans and technology are working together. There was nothing about artificial intelligence at this, except for the occasional mention of it, which I was fine with. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence anymore until I want to vomit, so I'm bored with it. Although weirdly enough, I do have a cool piece of artificial intelligence I want to share in a video in the next couple of weeks. And then in the evenings, Monday evening, I didn't really do much. I went back to my motel and ate there, and wow, was that salty and disgusting. But the motel was pretty dirty, too. They were putting me up there. They were paying the room bill, so I'm like, okay. But anyway, not a place I ever like to stay. I mean, you look at the filters in the air unit, and it looked like you could pet them. It's like a squirrel. They were so gray, so I cleaned those out. I've complained about it in the past when I've stayed there, but it does no good. and looking at the spider webs on the lamp, and ugh. I mean, sometimes my house gets dirty, but it's almost like they just have given up this place. But anyway, you don't care about that. But anyway, the next 2 nights I went to different parks around Bismarck. I'll put together the video and then narrate it from over there. But anyway, that was interesting. I've done parks when I went to Fargo one year, so I decided to do Bismarck parks. I get to Bismarck a lot more often than I get to Fargo. And yeah, Bismarck has some nice parks. There's also a nice walking trail system, which I think if I lived there I would like, because if you look at the walking trail system that's here in my little town, we get to go by the city garage where they park the garbage trucks, so that's pretty. You get to go out into a field and the highway on the other side. You do get to go around the baseball diamond, so that's something, but it's sort of missing something. And yeah, my little town doesn't have a river. That's a big advantage that Bismarck has that my town does not have. But I just feel like they could have done better here in my little town. But anyway, so they have a nice walking system. So I went to 3 parks one night because they were all very little parks along the river. I got some footage of the river boat, so I'll narrate that when I put that up. And then the second night I went to General Sibley Park, which is just south of Bismarck, but it's part of the Bismarck Park system. It's got an area that's open to the public, and then there's a camping area, and there's a boat launch in it too. So I went to the part open to the public. I was told it's neat to go around the camping area, but that was for paying customers only, so I stayed out of there. And I found a little free library there. I was going to do more trades there, but I only did them at General Sibley Park. I wish I'd taken the hiking path. I had that small town thing where I'm thinking, I better get back to Bismarck before the restaurants all close and I don't have anywhere to eat. Well, it's Bismarck. You can find places to eat way into the evening. And then Thursday we ended about 2 o'clock, and then I drove home and stopped in Dickinson, grocery shopped, and tried to visit some little free libraries there. There were 2 I was going to visit. The one, I didn't see where I could park to get to it. I'd have to park way elsewhere and then walk to it, so I decided not to. And then the other one was totally empty, and looking back on it, I should have at least just put a few books in it and said, okay, this one, I'm taking one for the team. But I didn't. Next time I get to Bismarck, I'll do that. Or Dickinson, I mean. But anyway, that was my week. And then I came home and was catching up on house stuff on Thursday, what time I had left. And then Friday I was really, really sick. So I'm like, well, we're not filming Pens and Use tonight. And started feeling better finally by Sunday. And I totally forgot to film a pen video this week. I got so busy on a cool thing that I found that I just like, it's Thursday evening and you never did your pen video. Good job there, squirrel. So hopefully you'll get to see the results of that in a few weeks. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up and we're going to look at the parks. So I started out in the Peace Park. It is kind of at the base of Burnt River Drive. And you can see somebody jogging. That's part of the walking path I was talking about. Here it is. This is the walking path. And it goes all over Bismarck. And I did provide a link to that so you can check it out. And as I got further along on the walking path, I saw, that's a nice house. Must be a restaurant. Not quite, but close. So we get a little closer, and it's a riverboat. So that house is related to the riverboat. So the riverboat has an upper deck and a lower deck. The upper deck is open, the lower deck is enclosed. They serve food on it. They rent it out for parties. And it's a fake riverboat, which was really disappointing. But at the same time, what else are you going to do? The real riverboats that were up here were not the grand thingies that were in the south. on the Mississippi because it's too shallow. But anyway, I've never been invited to a party that's held on a riverboat. I guess I don't run in the right social circles. I don't have enough money. But anyway, here it's hidden behind a freight thingy, but you'll get a better look at it in a second. Yeah, so there it is. It is propeller driven, not paddle driven. The thingy that looks like a paddle wheel is not a paddle wheel. I do know where you can find one with a real paddle wheel. If you go to Millersburg, Pennsylvania, there is a ferry boat that crosses the Susquehanna River every summer, all summer, and it's a real paddle wheel ferry boat made out of wood. This is just a sad wannabe. And maybe I'm a little jealous. Okay, so here we have not a free little library, we have a free little art gallery, which, interesting idea. So apparently people can leave art or take art in there. I had no art to give or take, so I just left everything alone, but there you go. Neat idea. And there is art. So we're now in what's called the Keelboat Park, which I got there by that walking path. And we're under Interstate 94, and this large mural is under Interstate 94. There's a lot of traffic on this road right now because of road construction in Bismarck. It is awful getting around Bismarck. I spared you footage of the mess of traffic that I experienced. But anyway, here in the Keelboat Park, there is art. I missed one of the statues. I can't believe I did it. If I would have turned my camera like 10 degrees further north, I'd have included the other one. But had Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea. This is a keelboat. This is what they traveled up the Missouri River in as they explored the Louisiana Purchase. I am always surprised by how big it is. Had a sail. I didn't see oars, so I don't know if they would paddle when it got bad, or, I don't know exactly how it worked. But it was apparently very well researched. I am not well researched on this topic. I just am not that interested in Lewis or Clark. Sorry, that makes me a bad North Dakotan, but I'm not from this state. I just live here. The door was closed. I guess that's where Lewis and Clark slept, or else that's where, they kept their supplies. And probably supplies under all the benches and whatnot. This is a Thunderbird statue. I was surprised to discover that the Thunderbird is a reference in a lot of Native American mythology. This is a railroad bridge. So I was surprised by how old the bridge is. Original truss spans were constructed in 1883 and replaced in 1905. So yeah, this is a 1905 bridge. The granite piers are the only original bridge elements remain, and it is 1,470 feet long. A similar bridge used to be, was called the Memorial Street Bridge, and it was for cars. Was torn down a few years ago. So I'll put links to information about both bridges in the video description. I think I can find you footage of the demolition. But you can see the problems with this bridge. One of the big ones is the double-decker train cars that now are used. Not going to fit on this bridge. I was interested in all the work on how they're building the piers. There's actually tugboats here. One of the tugboats sank and had to be resurrected from the river. So yeah, this is the Missouri River, which feeds into the Mississippi River. I am in this watershed by a very, very, very roundabout way, but I am in it. And yeah, there's the original pier, granite apparently, and the new pier. And it is just so cool. There are people that would like to preserve this bridge as a pedestrian bridge, but apparently that ain't going to happen for reasons I'm not going to editorialize about because I don't know enough. I'll just put the links down below in the video description, and you can figure it out for yourself. Here's a little bit of scenery from that park for my parents who love this kind of stuff. They would poke around in a canoe here looking at ducks or something. And here is the building associated with that riverboat. I know it contains a gift shop and the ticket offices. I don't know what else is in here. Maybe a restaurant. And I was surprised to discover a cemetery when I went back through the Peace Park. And you cannot walk the whole way on the walking path right now because it goes under the railroad bridge. So then I drove, because I couldn't walk, to the Steamboat Park, which is just down the road. The Steamboat Park has some neat art. Again, art, I think, is a valid part of any park. Part of what makes us human is art. Here we're looking at the new Memorial Street Bridge, and traffic is stopped, and that's 2 lanes in both directions. Like I said, Bismarck is a shit show right now for traffic. Did I just say that? And beyond that is, I don't remember the name of the bridge, but it's the 3rd bridge that goes over the Missouri River in Bismarck. And yeah, a lot of smog in the air, and another glimpse at the railroad bridge over the Missouri River. This time from Steamboat Park. Across the river in Mandan, there are some very nice houses. I wonder, when I see houses this close to the river, what do you do for floods? And there is a fake steamboat at the Steamboat Park. Yeah, you can walk onto it. It is dry docked. It probably wouldn't float if you actually put it in the river, I don't think. But there you go. And this is a little bit more realistic to how they were. Maybe not too realistic, but a little bit. And there's some informational stuff. Like the Keelboat Park, you can't really explore it. You can only go out kind of on the main floor. But you can see here kind of what they looked like. They were not the majestic things seen on the Mississippi, because they were dealing with a much shallower river. I know up in Washburn, North Dakota, which is to the north, there was a spot where they used to pull them up on the shore of the river in the winter so that they wouldn't, get destroyed by the ice. But anyway, this was me just hand-holding my camera. And then there's this interesting thing about grasshoppering, which has to do with how they get around on this shallow river. And then, just looking at the walking path, this is south of Bismarck. I went on to the General Sibley Park. Along the Sibley Park, there's a story walk where they have pages from a children's story where you stop and look at the different pages. And it is a riparian environment. So it's along the river. It's kind of the marshy area alongside the river. So the river's out there, just quite a ways out there. And kind of cool that they made this part of a park. And then it's got the walking path. It's got a huge recreational area with different kinds of games you can play. Here we're looking south. We're looking at what I didn't realize then was a University of Mary. House down there. Yes, a lot of smog in the air because of the smoke from the fires out west. And then above the house, there is University of Mary. That's the Catholic college in Bismarck. It is... There, you can see a cross. Definitely Catholic. Christian, anyway. But anyway, the buildings at UMary are not the prettiest buildings. The prettiest campus, in Bismarck is United Tribes Technical College. Well, then I walked out to the boat ramp. There was a walking path here that I could have taken, but I was getting afraid of, the restaurant's going to be closed by the time I get back to Bismarck. And I kind of forgot I'm a small town boy, and Bismarck is a big city, and things don't close at 6 there. But anyway, this is more of that riparian environment. Oh, and we are looking at cottonwood seeds in that last bit of footage. We're looking at a riparian environment. There's a great blue heron that didn't manage to come into focus, but I saw him. And this is the channel boat launchers would take out to get to the actual river, because most boat people want to just be out on the open water. And there's a cute little fella, a different one from the one that opened the video. But he's still cute. This one is more. And then as I left General Sibley Park, I saw a little free library. And one of my goals in Bismarck was to do some trades. So, oh shoot, I didn't see the youth and adult. Yeah, so I screwed it up. So these are the books that I donated. And I don't think I obeyed the youth and adult thing. And these are the books that I got. So I always try to give more than I take. And then, just for giggles and snorts, here's my little free library sitting in my front yard. And
so if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both
so
new and old, and at all price points,
I keep a light in there.
I would
so
invite you to subscribe.
People at night
and
can walk by.
Comment down below.
So anyway,
some cool
that was
bits of
my week in Bismarck, and we'll have another one soon.
World, your professional world, assistive or otherwise. So I thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.